All right, this is going to be an example of what a posture analysis looks like using one of our Division 1 guys, Ethan Sutton, who is now at USF. So when we're looking at these photos, his old set of photos, or the original ones that we had with him, are on bottom, and the newest set of photos that we have are going to be up on top. So when we're looking at the old photos, the real big thing for Ethan that's going on here is his mid back or mid T-spine is very rigid, which doesn't allow him to move as well from that mid back to create the layback, which then puts more stress into his shoulder and elbow and ultimately ended up contributing to him having to have Tommy John. So when we're looking at this low back position, you're going to see that it's very rigid. This anterior pelvic tilt overextends the low back to the point where these lumbar vertebrae become stacked on top of one another. And then it rounds straight back into the T-spine, gets very flat through the mid back, and then at this scap point starts to round forward. When we look at where he's at today, there's a much better uniform curvature to what's going on in his low back. The upper back rounding is happening above the scap point, so there's movement throughout the entire spine. But you can see where this point apex is now higher up in the low back above the belly button rather than being even and in line with it. So that is a much better position to be in. The left side picture looks drastically different as far as what's going on with the T-spine in this area right here. It is way more upright, and that mobility right there is what we need to ultimately create the extension or layback that we're looking for. He's still a little bit rotated in what we've got going on here. So when we look at these side profile pictures, we only want to see the side of the body that is facing the camera. We don't want to see what's on the opposite side. So when we look at the left side, you're going to notice that the left shoulder, hip, and knee are further forward of this white divider than where they are on the right side. And you actually see a little bit of the right calf as well as the right side of the back and kind of the shoulder blade region right there. That is something that we want to try to continue to work on and improve, but is still in a much better position than where it was before. The other big improvements that are going on for Ethan are going to be in the lower body. So he was in a very common position for a lot of pitchers, which is called a valgus knee stress. So what we're looking at here is we want the hip, knee, ankle to all be stacked right on top of one another. But what happens at the kneecap is the bone becomes shifted and then the lower leg kicks out like a kickstand and the ankle comes outside of the knee like you're seeing here. When we look at where we're at today, we're in a much more upright position. We still have a little bit of work to do to get that ankle to be truly underneath the hip, but this is a much more stable position for the hip to be in as a whole. The other big things that are going on here is just the rounding of the upper back creates this dome shape out of the trap. When you look at the trap today, particularly on the left side, it looks much different in the shape that it's taking, as well as this side crease, or kind of what I call the love handle area. Coming down in here, it was a little bit more bulky throughout his low to mid back. That is now sitting much flatter and truer to what we would want it to look like. Since starting to incorporate posture into his routine while doing his daily return to throw program, Ethan has seen a huge improvement in the overall movement quality that he's having up on the mound and is placing way less stress on his arm and is making faster strides in his return to throw program than what most guys are accustomed to.